Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Tubi. And let's get to the list. You should never have come here! The Hallow is a 2015 Irish creature feature horror movie. Directed by Corin Hardy, it stars Joseph Mal, Bojana Novakovic, and Michael Smiley. A family who moves into a remote mill house in Ireland finds themselves in a fight for survival, with demonic creatures living in the woods.
I believe that the forest that you're trampling on belongs to the Hallow. Hallow. Fairies, banshees, baby stealers.
So recently on a live stream, a few of you guys mentioned this movie, and when I was told that it was a creature feature and that it was Irish and that I would love it, I was all over it. I immediately added it to my queue because I'm such a big fan of creature features. And on top of that, a lot of the horror that comes out of Ireland is really, really well done. And this is no exception. It's extremely well shot. The acting is solid, the pacing, the look. I mean, this movie looks amazing. Because even the creatures, a lot of times with these creature features, you know, it might be really good, but then when you start to see the creatures and as it gets to the end, you start to cringe. And you're like, oh, if they could have just made them look a little bit better. But this does a hell of a job with the special effects. These creatures are awesome, just so creepy and uncomfortable and disturbing. But there's a lot of scenes in this that'll make you squirm as well as really keep you on the edge of your seat. This is a real banger and one that's definitely worth your time. Asylum Blackout is a 2011 horror movie. Directed by Alex Cortez and written by S. Craig Zoller. It stars Rupert Evans, Kenny Doughty, and Richard Brake. A group of cooks at an asylum for the criminally insane get locked inside with the inmates during a thunderstorm blackout.
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, you! Go to the end of the line.
This is one of those movies that it kind of takes its time getting going. In the beginning, I was kind of having a hard time with it. I wasn't really sure if it was going to grab my attention. It's pretty well shot and the acting seems okay, but it felt really formulaic and just felt kind of low budget and like there wasn't going to be much to this. But I'm so glad that I stuck with it because this is one of those movies that as it goes, it continues to ramp up. And to a point when you keep thinking that it's not going to be able to outdo itself, so to speak, that it's kind of reached its level of depravity and what's going to happen, it just keeps going for it all the way to the end of this movie. There's some absolutely savage scenes in it as well. But you got to keep in mind, this is a small indie movie. It's not going to be a game changer. But I think if you keep your expectations in check, this is one you'll really enjoy. So definitely add this one to your list. Get Out is a 2017 psychological horror movie. Written, co-produced, and directed by Jordan Peele. It stars Daniel Kaluuya, Allison Williams, and Catherine Keener. When a young black man visits his white girlfriend's parents' house for the weekend, his simmering uneasiness about their reception of him eventually reaches a boiling point. This movie is incredible, and I'm assuming the vast majority of you out there have already seen this, so this isn't one of those me recommending a movie you haven't seen. It's just me getting a chance to talk about this and also to let you know that it's available to watch for free right now on Tubi. But I think this is an all-timer because as time goes by, it seems to age and get even better with age because recently when I rewatched it, I was just hit with just how good everything in this is done. This is one of those few movies that I heard so much hype about before I saw it, and yet when I saw it, I wasn't disappointed in the least. And I know a lot of people talk about the social issues here, the racial issues, things like that, but it seems to kind of be forgotten a lot of times just how good of a horror movie this is as well. And that's why I'm such a big fan of Jordan Peele, because I think he can make something that has a big, massive statement, impactful kind of film like this, and yet still not forget that he's making a horror movie and entertain you and scare you and make you uncomfortable and all those things as well. And I absolutely think this is going to go down as one of the great horror movies of this generation. This is one of those modern horror movies that is an instant classic, and I think if you're a fan of horror, it's one you have to see.
Drop the knitting needles.
That's probably not a good idea.
Put him down!
Cuff me!
Put those needles down, young man! Down!
Cuff me!
Idle Hands.
Idle Hands is a 1999 comedy horror movie. Directed by Rodman Flinder, it stars Devon Sawa, Seth Green, and Jessica Alba. The plot follows the life of an average lazy stoner named Anton, whose hand becomes possessed and goes on a killing spree. This movie is so much fun and really nostalgic for me because I wasn't much older at the time than this character Anton is in this. Maybe just a year or two. So I really loved this movie. I loved the humor of it because I was basically that average lazy stoner in a lot of ways at this time as well. But I think there's so many fun, silly scenes in this. And even though some of the humor may not land with you, especially if you're younger, I still think it is a lot of fun and definitely a great pick this time of year, because it's really got a lot of Halloween vibes throughout it. On top of that, Seth Green is just so damn funny in it. And it's got some fun kills as well. This is a fantastic popcorn horror movie and one to definitely check out. Halloween is a 2018 slasher horror movie, directed by David Gordon Green and co-written by Green, Jeff Bradley, and Danny McBride. It's the 11th installment in the Halloween franchise and stars Jamie Lee Curtis, Andy Matichak, and James Jude Courtney. Laurie Strode confronts her longtime foe, Michael Myers, the masked figure who has haunted her since she narrowly escaped his killing spree on Halloween night 4 decades earlier.
Everyone in my family turns into a nutcase this time of year. Yeah, I mean, your grandmother is Laurie Strode. She was almost murdered.
So like a lot of you out there, I was not a big fan at all of Halloween Ends and wasn't really a fan of kills either. I mean, I did enjoy some elements of kills, but a lot of it, just the dialogue and there was just a lot of holes in it. It just was not a great movie either. But I feel like it's really unfortunate because it's kind of tainted this film. But I don't think you need either of those movies to enjoy this one, because this was written in such a way that it almost doesn't matter. Those two could have just never happened, and this would still have been a nice fitting end to Michael and Laurie Strode's, struggle. Their battle at the end of this is fantastic. But I also just love the way this looks. This is probably the most amazing looking Halloween movie that's ever been made. Just that one take of Michael Myers on Halloween night, it's just phenomenal. It feels like Halloween. And even though I'm not saying this is a perfect movie, New Loomis, I'm looking at you. Yeah, right at you. I still think this is a well done, enjoyable Halloween movie by itself. So I just think it's perfect timing for a rewatch while it's available right now on Tubi.
That's the point of a miracle, isn't it? You've got to have faith.
Resurrected is a 2023 sci-fi horror movie. Directed by Edgar Baranov, it stars Dave Davis, Carly Hall, and Ezra Buzzington. In a dystopian future, the Vatican knows how to resurrect people, and a priest discovers a conspiracy behind the resurrections and the possible link to a series of murders.
The churches claim to have achieved the impossible. They have discovered how to resurrect the recently deceased.
We're not offering immortality. We're offering a second chance.
This is one of those movies that's more about the premise. I don't know if it exactly lives up to what the potential was there. So I'm not saying that this is a game changer or an amazing movie or a must watch or anything like that, but there is something to it. You know, there is something here that I still found myself entertained and watched the whole thing, even though I didn't think I would, because when I started it, I'm like, okay, this is a really bottom of the barrel budget kind of film. The whole thing is basically you seeing a laptop. It's you seeing this person's laptop and all these different interactions through Zoom. So it's very clear that it was recorded during lockdown. But I still think they did a really good job of that. And on top of that, just the story here, I really love this concept. I think it's really cool. I think it could have been done better. I think someone could still take this idea, this premise, and do something even better with it. But I still thought it was unique enough and an interesting enough story to throw it on this list. Because it does go for it on some levels, and it did surprise me at times. But just keep in mind how small of a movie this is. Keep your expectations in check, and I think you could have a good time with it.
This can't be real. This can't be real. This can't be real.
House of 1,000 Corpses.
Hope you like what you see!
House of 1,000 Corpses is a 2003 black comedy horror movie. Written and directed by Rob Zombie in his directorial debut. It stars Sid Haig, Bill Moseley, and Sherry Moon Zombie. Two young couples traveling across the backwoods of Texas searching for urban legends end up as prisoners of a bizarre and sadistic family of serial killers.
Dr. Satan.
You know anything about the legend of Dr. Satan?
Yeah, I can show you.
Dr. Satan! Ah, Dr. Satan!
Ever since I first saw the trailer for this, I have loved this movie. I mean, I remember seeing the trailer and then being so excited to see this film. But then it took years, like a couple of years before the movie ever actually came out, because there was a whole issue with distribution and whatever, but it took like a couple more years before it came out. But I was like first in line, because at the time, and even still, I was a huge Rob Zombie fan. Went, you know, and stood in line to get his albums, went to concerts. I mean, just a big fan of Rob Zombie, White Zombie at the time. And I was just so into this movie, because it's a love letter to horror. It's a love letter to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but then it's also full of this weird, twisted, dark humor and the color and chaos. It's just all over the place. And when you hear him talk about this movie, he thinks it's, you know, not a great movie. He's got so many problems with it, but I think all those things, or the zaniness, the wildness, the dialogue, just all of that is what makes this so special. Because of course, The Devil's Rejects, the movie after this, is a better film. But this one is more fun. This one is definitely one that's close to my heart. I have so much fun with it every time I watch it. And as a matter of fact, just talking about it right now has me wanting to rewatch it again. This is such an entertaining movie, and one that definitely deserves a spot on your list. Braid is a 2018 psychological horror movie. Written and directed by Mitzi Perrone, it stars Madeline Brewer, Imogen Waterhouse, and Sarah Hay. Two wanted women decide to steal from a wealthy and mentally unstable friend who lives in a fantasy world. But to get her money, the fugitives must take part in a deadly and perverse game of make-believe.
Once we get into the house, whatever she asks you to do, you're gonna have to do it. No excuses. She says we obey.
I put this on a Tubi list not too long ago, but I just love it that much, and I really want more people to see this. It's such a quirky, weird, original, creative movie. The color choices, the whole design of it, it's just beautifully done. The acting is solid, the story is super twisted and keeps you guessing the entire time. You're never really quite sure what is going on, and that's one of my favorite kind of movies, the ones that keep you guessing on the edge of your seat. But I think this is a brilliant little movie, and one that I highly, highly recommend. Dark Was the Night is a 2014 horror movie, directed and produced by Jack Hill. It stars Kevin Durand, Lucas Haas, and Bianca Keilich. and evil is unleashed in a small town when a logging company sets up shop in the neighboring woods.
This thing that we're looking for, maybe it's always been here.
Those are just stories, Donnie. People have been telling them around here for a long time.
What if there's something wrong about these woods?
This is a really interesting movie because it keeps you guessing through a lot of it, where you're just not sure if there's a creature or if it's just people, you know, working themselves up, and a lot of situations of happenstance, because over time you start to see people against each other and it just gets more and more uncomfortable, more and more stressful and anxiety filled. But it also has a nice payoff at the end when you find out the reality. It's well shot and directed, and the cast do a phenomenal job, very emotional, lots of layers kind of thing. But I think this is a damn good little gem, and one that's definitely worth your time.
Hey, can you let me out of here?
Hellfest is a 2018 slasher horror movie, directed by Gregory Plotkin and written by Kelly Cooper, who also wrote Megan as well as Malignant. It stars Amy Forsyth, Rain Edwards, and Tony Todd. The story follows a group of teens who are stalked by a serial killer while visiting a traveling Halloween carnival.
Are you ready to enter the depths of hell?
This movie just oozes Halloween, like as much or more than anything you'll see. And that's a lot of the reason why it's on this list. It also actually is pretty well done. Like I said, it's written by Kelly Cooper, who I've become a big fan of. I really love what she did with Malignant as well as Megan. Like, she really is an up-and-coming writer in the horror world. But this is one of those things that just will really surprise you because it's better shot than you're gonna expect. The acting actually feels pretty authentic. I mean, these really feel like real teens, their interactions, just in general, it feels like you're watching real people. But the absolute star of this is just the Halloween vibe. This carnival that they're at, Hellfest, is amazing, and I wish it really existed. It's the most amazing Halloween-looking carnival event thing you'll ever see. But it gets violent and gory with some great kills. I just think this is a perfect popcorn horror Halloween movie for this time of year. So do yourself a favor this weekend, guys. Pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! So that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week. I also want to give a massive, huge, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys absolutely mean the world to me. And if you would like to find out how you can help support the channel, over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or if you want to become a channel member, there's a button right down there that says join. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. If you enjoyed this, click right here to watch my 10 recommendations for horror movies from this year to watch for Halloween. And I'll see you guys next time.